Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at the APC Toys Angel Engine version 3.0 third-party Transformers Prime Deluxe Class Arcee. Now I picked mine up over at Showsy's store, so for that of course I'll be sure to pack a link down in the description box below. And this is a Prime Universe Arcee done right. This version is 100 times better when in comparison to the most recent version of the character that we saw to grace Transformers Legacy, and APC Toys are once again doing the work of the gods in giving collectors a third opportunity in owning what is undeniably one of the best looking versions of that Transformers Prime Arcee to date. Now as we take a look here at her in the bike mode, overall I think this is fantastic. It's very similar to all of the previous versions that I've taken a look at over on the channel. However, the biggest difference between this and version 1.0 is that the color scheme is a lot more animation accurate. The original version, whilst had a super cool metallic blue paint deco, just wasn't accurate to the show, whereas this much darker blue, borderline purple, really does perfectly capture her appearance, and overall I just think it looks incredible. You can see as we take a look here at the front of the wheel, we've got this really nice metallic purple strip. I think the detail towards the front section of the bike looks impeccable, and as we just take a look here at this kind of dashboard region, you can see we've got some speedometers, we've got the brake bars as well as the handlebars, as well as some really nice side view mirrors. Overall a very nicely detailed looking release. As we turn our attention to the rear of the bike, you can see some awesome metallic silver exhausts, and I actually do have her arm blades attached here onto the side just to make the bike look slightly more robust, but we can detach them to create for a slightly cleaner look for those of you who wish to display her like this on the shelf. And overall a really cool looking bike mode. Definitely not the mode that I'll be displaying her in, as I think the robot mode is incredible, but really nicely sculpted and incredibly painted. The front wheel can rotate left to right, and of course the wheels can rotate the full 360. We also do get a kickstand, which is a nice attention to detail, but I know you guys really want to check out how she looks in robot mode, and believe me when I say the brand new head sculpt really does help to set this apart from some of the previous releases. So to kickstart things off, you're going to want to take the shoulder blades and just disengage those from the side of the legs. Rinse and repeat the same process here for this side. That will then allow us to extend this here all the way down. We can then split the legs, hinge this section up on this double joint, flip out the foot, and then hinge these sections back down and just snap the wheel just like this. Rinse and repeat the same process here for this side. So kick out the foot, take this wheel piece and snap that there into place. What I would then recommend doing would be to take this torso, rotate it here all the way around, and then we can take kind of the seat region of the bike and just snap that there into place, creating for already a super animation accurate looking robot mode. You'll then want to take the arms and hinge these sections down, rotate so that of course the front is now facing forwards, and do the same here for this side. So just hinge those arms down, fold out these shoulder blades. We can then split the front section of the bike, which will allow us to then take this piece and extend this here all the way up so that these then can be brought forwards. You'll then want to take this front wheel and pull it back so that we can pop out her head sculpt just like this, and snap this over the top of the torso and compress where the Autobot logo should be over this tiny little silver nub. We can then rotate the wheel, compress that there into this back section. What you'll then want to do is bring these chest pieces up and over, give them a nice squish into place so they look nice and perky, and then we can rotate this windshield section around, take the handlebars, snap those down like so, rotate this piece up, and just collapse it like this, and there we have the APC Toys Angel Engine fully transformed up into honestly her astonishing looking robot mode. And as mentioned at the beginning of the video, I really do think this is the best version of Prime Arcee that we are ever likely to see. It's almost borderline masterpiece. I really do think they've done an incredible job. Now as mentioned beforehand, this figure does have a complete brand new head sculpt when in comparison to the original APC Toys release, and I'll be sure to bring that out for a comparison in just a second, but it looks so much more faithful when in comparison to the offering that we originally saw from Hasbro. I think the eye detailing is immaculate. You can see as far as that paintwork is concerned, it just looks sublime. Honestly, such an amazing recreation of one of my all-time favorite Arcee incarnations. I really did think this was one of the best looks that the character had ever sported. You can see we've got these shoulder blade sections sticking out to the side. Sadly, they've still been unable to find the way to actually detach these from the arms. I believe in the show they were kind of more attached to this section and the arm could rotate on its its own, whereas here with this figure, they do move with it. But you can see here the chest looks really cool, especially considering that this is actually the front section of the bike. I think the proportions for the most part are pretty on point, as so is the overall paintwork. You can see some very nice metallic purple highlights here, or metallic pink highlights I should say, on the side of these gauntlet sections. I think the hand sculpt looks awesome. As we just work our way down here to the lower section of the legs, much like the shoulder blades, they've still been unable to find a way to kind of inverse these so that these sections are facing outwards instead of this rather ugly piece looking towards us. That would have been super cool, but as it stands, it's still not a bad looking sculpt by any stretch of the imagination, as she's just such a sleek and elegant looking version of the character. Overall, undeniably one of the best versions of Arcee that I own in my entire collection. Now, articulation wise, the head is on a ball joint, so it can look up and down ever so slightly. It can also rotate left to right. The arms are on ball joints, so can rotate every way that you would want out to the sides. We do get a rotation here at the bicep, double joint at the elbow due to transformation, as well as a hinge joint which can go forwards and backwards. We also do get a waist rotation. The legs can kick forwards that far, back to that far, out to the sides, rotation here at the thigh, as well as way past 90 here at the knee, only on a single hinge joint. And sadly, considering that this is based upon a much older deluxe release, we don't get any form of ankle rocker pivot. So definitely is in need of a major overhaul. I would have loved APC Toys to have taken this slightly further, much like their version of the upcoming Arachnid, and had actually given her a much better range where the legs and the actual hands are concerned. But other than that, I think it's still a really nice representation of the character. Now, as far as accessories goes, this figure certainly isn't lacking by any stretch of the imagination. So included are a pair of her traditional arm blades. These are the exact same sculpts that we saw first time round from Hasbro. They're a little too big, which is why they've included an additional pair, but overall I don't think look too bad. You can see as far as the paint goes, fantastic metallic blue as well as silver here for the actual blade itself, and they can just peg into some ports here on the back of the arms, but definitely are a little too big for my liking, which is where you can now bring in the new arm blades. These are a lot shorter and much more animation accurate, and if anything looks so much cooler. I think the paintwork on these also look wicked, and you have a few options regarding these. So you can peg them into the side of the arm to recreate something which looks along the lines of this, or much like these arm blades, you can switch them to peg them into the 5mm port on the underside. So it really is just going to come down to personal preference. We also do get included an alternate head sculpt. Now, this is for those who perhaps picked up the version 2 and don't want the old previous head sculpt. They want the more animation accurate head sculpt. So I thought this was a nice inclusion. If anything, it's kind of making me wish that I had picked up that original version 2.0, but nevertheless, you can see painted and sculpted very nicely. And then finally, we do get a pair of blasters. Now, these are something that we never saw officially by Hasbro. They're a lot more proportionate when in comparison to what I believe we saw with the Robots in Disguise release, and overall really are just the icing on the cake. I think the paintwork and the sculpt on these look fantastic, and they do essentially just slide over the top of the hand, much like in the series, so it really does give you the impression as if though these have actually transformed out of her arm, and much like the new arm blades are so accurate to the show. So in all, just an incredible figure. I really do think APC Toys have knocked it out of the park where kind of this KO is concerned, and that new head sculpt as well as the color scheme and accessories really do make this figure, in my opinion, top notch. Now, as far as the comparison is concerned, here is the version 1. This was fantastic. I really liked the look of this. I thought the metallic blue they were able to replicate was astonishing, but sadly it was really prone to paint chipping, which in some areas has definitely ruined the look of this figure. And the metallic blue wasn't that accurate to the show, whereas this much darker, almost borderline purple we're seeing here with version 3 completely is animation accurate. And just to go back to my earlier point in regard to the new head sculpts, this was the original release and this is the brand new version, and if anything, this is just so much more accurate to how she looked in the series. Just an astonishing figure. I really am blown away by these APC Toys figures. For KOs, they're incredibly well made. Their joints feel up to par with even some of the leader class figures that you would expect now from the Hasbro mainline. I just think that she is an amazing representation of one of my all-time favorite characters from Transformers Prime. And turning to some comparisons, here we have the APC Toys first edition version on the left and the Legacy Prime universe on the right, and there's no comparison at all. I'm actually quite surprised that Hasbro didn't take a leaf out of some of these third-party companies' books and basically just reissue this for the Legacy line. I think collectors would have been absolutely thrilled to have been able to be given a second official opportunity in owning this mold, as this is just so much nicer when in comparison to this brand new redesign retake that we saw for Legacy. They're literally worlds apart. They don't really even look anything like one another. I really do think the design team were way off when they put this Legacy version together. And here we have her compared alongside the APC Toys first edition Optimus Prime, and they just look incredible paired next to one another. Those first edition figures truly were in a league of their own, and for the time of which they were released in, really and truly could have been considered masterpieces, as in 2022 they are still undeniably the ultimate transformable versions of the characters that we've ever seen. As far as a scale perspective between these two goes, however, I do think Arcee is a little too small. I'm not too sure why APC Toys didn't upscale Megatron and Optimus to be that of leader class, and then they could have kept her at this scale. As in the show, I believe she was more around the midsection of Prime instead of, say, the chest windows, but still not looking too bad at all. Transforming versions, they look absolutely incredible up on the shelf with one another, and something of which I may not have showcased is, for those of you who are not a huge fan of kind of the hollowness that we've got here from the side, you can take her robot mode arm blades and actually attach them, I believe it was this way, so that you can kind of just conceal a bit of that hollowness. Personally, it's something that I've never really liked the look of, but for those who really don't like kind of the look that we're seeing here from this perspective, you can completely cover that up, and if anything, kind of gives her these massive blades for the kneecaps. So overall, definitely a very deadly force. And so, some final thoughts for the APC Toys Angel Engine version 3.0. Overall, it's once again another amazing reissue of what is undeniably the best transforming version of Transformers Prime Arcee that has ever been released. I really do think they've knocked it out of the park just where the KO is concerned. The materials are fantastic, the joints have held up so nicely, but it is really those new components which I believe help set it apart from that official Hasbro offering. She comes with a ton of accessories, more cartoon accurate arm blades, actual arm cannons, something which the first edition Arcee never included, and that brand new head sculpt really, at least to me, looks so much nicer when in comparison to not only the version that we saw from Hasbro, but also on APC Toys version 1 and version 2 of the character. It really does just look amazing. I think the bike mode's great, the transformation is not too simplistic nor too complex, and it results in a very faithful recreation of the character. For those of you who are looking to add this piece to the collection, it is currently available and in stock right now over at Showzee, so for that, of course, I'll be sure to pack a link down in the description box below. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments on what you guys think of this brand new version of APC Toys Arcee. Is it one that you plan on adding to the collection? And of course, be sure to let me know on what you guys think of that brand new head sculpt, as well as the review. I thank you all so much for watching, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.